Aerial reconnaissance by the K2 Battalion detects the movement of an enemy armored column near a settlement. The column includes 6 armored vehicles, including tanks and IFVs. The enemy continues advancing along a dirt road, gradually approaching. UAV operators maintain continuous surveillance and prepare to strike. Ukrainian artillery opens precise fire, putting pressure on the column. Under fire, the enemy column loses formation. The vehicles begin to maneuver erratically, trying to change course, but it's useless. At the same time, dismounted Russian soldiers begin their attack. They immediately apply psychological pressure and demand surrender. The enemy column remains within effective artillery range. The intensity of artillery fire on the column continues to increase. At this location, Russian troops have dismounted, unaware of what's about to happen next. As the column advances into the forest belt, combat begins. A fierce firefight is heard in the background. A Ukrainian soldier provides covering fire with a machine gun. As the vehicle gets closer, FPV drones enter the fight. A group of enemy soldiers comes under drone fire. Meanwhile, in the forest, the battle nears its end. Final gunshots can be heard. A Ukrainian soldier reports that the last enemy is wounded and the enemy attack has failed. Another enemy armored vehicle attempts to flee the battlefield, but meets the same fate as the others. This is what we mentioned earlier. Ukrainian tanks and APCs with infantry launch a counterattack. One tank opens fire on buildings. A second tank provides cover to prevent the enemy from returning fire from trenches. Immediately after, Ukrainian infantry begins the assault. Soldiers clear buildings and move towards a trench where about 10 enemy troops were located. The Russians realize the battle is lost and surrender. Excellent work. Another day, another battle. Ukrainian forces detect another attempt by a Russian armored group to advance into the Zaporizhzhia region. Prepared for such developments, Ukrainian forces waste no time. Heavy artillery fire is unleashed on the enemy column. One tank, carrying a large amount of ammunition, hits a mine. Let's check out that explosion again. Another powerful detonation occurs. Caught in the blast, the column loses coordination and descends into chaos. The lead vehicle attempts to retreat, but takes a direct hit. A burning armored vehicle continues moving, leaving a trail of fire and igniting dry grass. Suddenly, the ammunition inside detonates due to overheating, completely destroying the vehicle. The blast proves fatal to the vehicles behind it. Mission accomplished. The enemy is defeated. Yet another assault. A Russian armored group advances, but from the very first few minutes, they come under intense fire. An engineering vehicle with a mine plow moves ahead, clearing the way. It encounters a line of dragon's teeth, anti-tank obstacles. The tank tries to blast through with a shot, but fails. After the failed breach, Ukrainian tanks open fire on the column. The next Russian tank becomes the target and is destroyed. A complete kill. An IFV halts and unloads troops directly onto the battlefield. The crew and infantry scatter, and Ukrainian soldiers prepare an anti-tank missile for the abandoned vehicle. The missile hits the target, causing ammo to detonate. A massive explosion follows. Vehicles attempting to retreat come under heavy fire and are destroyed one by one. One surviving tank tries to hide in a forest belt, but its maneuver is spotted. A kamikaze drone locks on. The tank crew notices the threat and opens fire on the drone, but it fails. They have no chance. Within minutes, 2 more armored vehicles are turned into burning wrecks. Once again, a fatal crew error. Russian armor moves down a road, unaware of the looming threat, but the drone operator has already selected the target. The powerful explosion is visible from afar. The enemy sends a second, more powerful wave of armored vehicles into battle. Engines roar, tracks tear up the earth. But they're expected. Ukrainian artillery opens fire on the column. The road is under heavy shelling, however, the enemy pushes forward. Ukrainian artillery can't hit the moving target. Then suddenly, a direct hit. One shell finds its mark. Sensing blood, Ukrainian forces take out another tank. Infantry joins the fight with anti-tank systems. The first missile hits the target. An APC disappears. Successive missile strikes destroy 2 more enemy tanks. The blast shakes the ground. Despite losses, the enemy keeps moving. Ukrainian soldiers return fire from their shelters. Armor reaches the position, infantry dismount. The tension is growing. Russian infantry pushes forward. Their numbers are far greater. Ukrainian troops calmly await the order, and then it comes. Wait, and then launch the drones. Suddenly, the sky fills with drones attacking Russian infantry. But the enemy does not give up. Reinforcements arrive, and a new assault begins. Ukrainian artillery joins the fight once again. Explosions tear up the ground. Russian infantry reaches the trenches and begins to entrench. This is a tough moment for Ukraine. But drone operators remain calm. They lock onto the target. Russian troops are concentrated in one spot. Another drone strike. The armor makes a speedy retreat, and the remaining Russian infantry hide in shelters. Advance is no longer possible. The Ukrainian troops skillfully withdraw, leaving empty trenches. The Russian infantry is left exposed. At that very moment, artillery fire begins. The Russian troops are trapped in their dugouts. Ukrainian forces return. Some Russian soldiers are now in despair. They drop their weapons and surrender. But the operation isn't over yet. A Russian tank is trying to escape. It's spotted by recon drones. The operator locks on. The first strike. A hit. Smoke rises from the tank, then dissipates. The drone dives in for a second strike. Another hit. This time, the tank ignites. The flames begin to rage. And then, a massive explosion. After a week of intense battles, Ukrainian forces once again repel massive attacks by Russian columns. The enemy armor advanced in waves, trying to break the defensive line. But Ukrainian defenses anticipated every maneuver, prepared skillfully, and held firm, refusing to be broken along the eastern front. Fighting continued in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. These territories have been under drone and artillery strikes for months. Russian units retreat to forests and abandoned settlements to hold narrow sectors. Every movement is tracked by Ukrainian reconnaissance. FPV drones are flying non-stop, revealing even well-camouflaged targets. Retreating Russian soldiers lose support or communication, remaining isolated. Ukrainian units quickly eliminate these groups. Enemy forces hiding in forests, ruins, and bunkers are systematically destroyed. This ensures not only security, but also exposes future offensive routes toward rear settlements. Civilians continue to support the army. Logistics, volunteer efforts, and territorial defense operate as one unified system for a common goal. For Ukraine, this is not just a military conflict. It is a battle for survival, freedom, and independence. Today, the engines are silent. Burned-out vehicles and repelled attacks give Ukrainians hope. Each destroyed column, each position held, is another failed plan for the invaders. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.